Bill Sorem, citizen journalist, and I think we'll talk about the role of citizen journalism. Now we break in the monopoly of corporate media and all that, and we'll talk about the internet. It's full of people like you and a lot of coverage, and consumer of information needs to be vigilant, and they need to make a judgment and choose. But locally here, there was a big story that make it to national news, which is our mayor.
Our mayor was caught pointing.
Our mayor was caught that he has a finger that he can use. What was that all about? I saw it. I didn't make much of it. I said this is just election time. We'll move on. But it seems like it got to the national news. So tell us, take us through the story.
I don't know the genesis of it. KSTP had their own reasons for it. They claimed spending 4 days researching this. But my take on it was that several things were disturbing to the establishment. First of all, here's a black man out getting people to vote. Yeah. And that threatens people.
That's a positive role model.
No, and there's a black man with a criminal record. And, we have to keep him in the criminal system, keep him in prison, can't let him be running around.
That's what the role of the police.
So they went with an incredible smear campaign against this individual who was trying, I don't know, I've never met him, trying to, but trying to put his life together and doing something very worthwhile.
Well, it was almost like an American story, given it a second chance.
He's out getting people to vote. He said, don't do what I've been doing, vote, let's cause things to happen. And the mayor has been critical of some of the police, deservedly so, and
that's on the record. I mean, it's not opinion.
So anyway, this was a chance to embarrass her and to smear this guy, and they just went totally overboard, and they took it to the level of absurdity. Now, I watched a newscast.
So let's back up for those who have never seen that. I mean, these are the mayor going knocking on doors with this African American, right?
Yeah, right. They're out to get out.
And then there was a photo up.
The police chief was actually with him.
Oh, really?
And she shows up in some of the pictures, and I know the young woman who is seen taking this picture.
Yeah.
She's been an activist with Occupy and with Neighbors Organizing for Change, and is a courageous young woman. And she gets a picture of the mayor and this black man pointing their fingers at each other. They're out
even
working.
When I saw the video spontaneously, it wasn't like a plan. Huh?
No.
It seems like the mayor point first.
I don't remember what happened there, but it turned into this this huge story, and then it's been ridiculed, and Jon Stewart had it on the other night, Raw story, and a lot of the national media are just laughing at it.
But it's a very mundane justice. Everybody does it. Like with this and this, you point.
Yeah.
And
so
number one.
Well, and you have these plastic or the foam number one signs.
No,
Stanley Hubbard, the owner of KSTP, appearance at Augsburg the other night, the people infiltrated the crew, and they had a bunch of these, we're number
really?
one.
What was his response?
Well, we stand by our story, and, so where they.
Well, where do you go?
Yeah, once they've been attacked so firmly that they're just digging in. But I think the opportunity for citizen journalism and the rest of us is to tell a real true story. Jon Stewart did his job and ridiculed it, made it into a complete absurdity. Why are television stations wasting their time doing this? But there's a larger story there of what is going on and what's going on in the community, and what are people trying to do to make our world a better place.
I understand the vested interest of the police and the quandrum with the mayor and issue and power. Well, why Channel 5, KSTP get involved in this?
I don't know.
What was their agenda to align themselves?
I don't know. They are a very their news staff is very lily white. They've had some few people of color, but in general, and I don't want to get into that. I don't know. I
mean,
don't know why.
but we always give the white folks when they make mistakes, when they make blunder. We'll give them the benefit of the doubt. That was a mistake. That was just because they didn't have an African American to. But we and that's a pattern. We don't talk about the agenda that has the anti-immigrants, anti-people of color agenda that's behind all these mistakes.
Well, we have the classical response to what do you do about it is turn them off.
Yeah.
And I suspect that they are going to lose and have lost audience because they appear
Or exposed of some sort.
well, they're not only exposed as racist, but exposed as being terribly silly.
Yeah, incompetent.
Well, in I'll
Yeah, hold on.
go for it.
Yeah, I know.
But
you want to be able to go there.
The job of the citizen journalist, I've been at many events where there have been one or two or few other people, and usually these young kids running around doing reporting, and I really admire the work they do and the courage they have. And it's I say our job as citizens, as concerned people, to let that story be told. What's the truth? And I'm anxious to hear what this young black man has to say. I'm sure he's had a lot of mistakes in his life, and he's tangled with the justice system, and that's not a particularly unique occurrence. We have so many of our people of color entangled in the justice and prison system. And Neighborhoods for Organizing for Change has been a real force in making a place better, making specifically the North Side better. Anthony Newby and some of the other people there just work very hard to make it a better place. I've covered a number of the forums they've had, and they've pressured the Metropolitan Council on transit issues because the North Side in general is not served very well with transit.
Yeah.
And that's one of the issues they've worked on. The Get Out of the Vote campaign was another. The whole foreclosure Occupy issue, a lot of those people came out of that, and those stories were so painful, people's homes being foreclosed.
And how do you pick up, there are so many things happening. How do you pick up, I'm going to cover this story?
Well, people send me things, and I try to pay attention to what's going on. And I find out it's there.
A sense of
Facebook and emails.
But the sense that this is a worthy
and people know that I'm looking for things like this, and at my age and physical condition, I can't get around as much as I used to, but I enjoy it. It's very, very good.
It's interesting when we say citizen journalism, which is really on the rise since the internet and Facebook and
it can't be stopped.
Google cannot be stopped. And in the same rise, we have corporate media is getting stronger and more manipulative and more, forming public opinion. Because we don't have journalist investigative reporting anymore. It's just opinions.
Very few.
Very few. But when media treat people as consumer instead of as citizen, to cater entertainment and news, to be entertained, to be consumed, and at the end of this 5-10 minutes is the end of the story. Now, the audience, people are citizens having their own journalism.
Well, another thing,
it's a reverse.
You said minutes, it's often seconds.
Yeah.
The story has to be
2
told
minutes
in
and
10,
30
20, 30 seconds. And one of the privileges that we have is that we can go on. I can let people, if they want to talk for a minute and a half or 2 minutes or whatever.
Yeah.
And if I put a piece on the uptake or on other, I started to do a lot of work with the uptake. I've posted probably 250 stories there, and you can't bore people into listening, and my editors say, no, that's too long, we have to cut it. Yeah. But I do have the privilege of letting it evolve rather than trying to get I look for sound bites. I look for a sound bite that'll catch your attention. And but you let people finish their story.
What a concept.
Yeah.
You came from an advertising background.
Yeah.
So how, is
Well, I
there
was trained to be a
similarity?
vocational agriculture teacher, and I never did that. And I spent a number of years in the advertising agency business. And
But advertising also communication,
Sure,
persuasion, and all that. So it's still part of journalism, mass communication.
Right. I was never trained in journalism. But I've had, I think, always had a good ear for what people are saying. One of the assets I had when I was working with industrial media was that I could hear the vocabulary of that business. And there are unique things about it, whether it's salt business or making farm machinery or whatever. There are engineers describing the physicists at Rosemount years ago, had an ear, and didn't necessarily have to understand what they're saying, but an ear for the vocabulary of their business, and be able to play that back and talk to them.
So when you say vocabulary of their business, that's something that pertinent to their business or related.
Right. Specific to the business.
Specific to the business.
You see it in technical areas. You talk to engineers.
Technical
and
writing
physicists, and there's a whole vocabulary there, and they start talking about the interaction of subatomic particles or something like that. Yeah, but there's some words that are used to describe it. They're not necessarily part of the general vocabulary.
It's a hot button.
So I've always thought I've had a pretty good ear for listening for what people are saying.
So you see the story, there is some.
Yeah. What are they, part of it is
hot buttons.
Yeah, and what they're really trying to say, maybe, and actually to respect their view and their.
And you do that in your editing style. You don't really interfere with it. You
Try
just
not
let
to.
them tell the story.
Yeah.
And I like that. Just let people tell the story instead of. I see this 2-minute story. People screaming, and they are the one telling totally different story. You have an interview with somebody for half an hour, and you get them for 30 seconds, it's totally different story.
Well, sometimes there's several politicians who objected to things I recorded on, and I said, well, you said this. I didn't edit it. I didn't do anything. One of them, who will remain nameless, called me at home early Saturday morning. And I don't know how she got my home phone
very
number.
Personal here.
Yeah, to complain about.
Really?
Yeah, I said, she was complaining about what she had said. I said, well, you said that.
What should you do?
So, anyway, that's,
Well,
that's part of the light,
Yeah, exactly. That's part of you enjoying that, and as long as you enjoy it, you keep doing it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Bill.
Thank you.
Sorem, a citizen journalist, he's just covered the Uncover here in the Twin Cities. And check him on the uptakes, and we'll see you next week. Assalamu alaikum, and God bless you all.